The moon hung low in the darkened sky, casting an eerie glow over the old, decrepit hotel. It stood tall and imposing, its windows broken and its walls covered in faded paint. The Hotel Ashcroft had been abandoned for decades, a relic of a bygone era, and tonight, I found myself drawn to its haunted halls, unable to resist the allure of the unknown. As I approached the hotel, a chill ran down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. But I pushed aside my unease, convincing myself that it was just my imagination running wild. I'd always been fascinated by abandoned places, and the Hotel Ashcroft was rumored to be one of the most haunted locations in the area. The creaking of the old wooden door echoed through the empty foyer as I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay, and I had to use my flashlight to navigate through the darkness. The sound of my footsteps seemed to reverberate through the vast empty space, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. As I explored the ground floor, I couldn't help but notice the remnants of a grand hotel that had once been bustling with life. The lobby was adorned with intricate chandeliers that now lay shattered on the floor. The walls were adorned with faded wallpaper, and the furniture was covered in dust and cobwebs. It was as if time had stood still in this forsaken place. As I ventured deeper into the hotel, the atmosphere grew increasingly unsettling. The temperature dropped, and I could hear the faint sounds of footsteps echoing through the halls. I tried to dismiss it as my imagination, but the feeling of being watched persisted. With each step, I felt as if I were descending into a labyrinth of darkness and despair. The silence was broken only by the sound of my own breath and the occasional creaking of the old building. I couldn't help but wonder what had happened here, what secrets this place held. I found myself drawn to a narrow staircase that led to the upper floors. The steps groaned under my weight, and I ascended into darkness. The second floor was even more dilapidated than the first, with peeling wallpaper and sagging ceilings. It felt as if the very walls were closing in on me, suffocating me with their weight. I came across a series of empty rooms, each one colder and more foreboding than the last. But as I entered one room, a shiver ran down my spine. There, in the dim light, I saw a figure standing in the corner. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, and its body seemed to be translucent. My heart pounded in my chest as I stumbled backward, my flashlight trembling in my hands. The figure didn't move, but its presence filled the room with an overwhelming sense of dread. I couldn't tear my eyes away from it, and I felt as if it were staring into the depths of my soul. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The figure didn't respond, but its eyes seemed to bore into me, sending shivers down my spine. Without thinking, I turned and ran, my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. As I descended the staircase, I felt a sudden gust of wind, as if a cold breath was brushing against my neck. I turned around, but there was nothing there, just the empty darkness of the hotel. The feeling of being watched intensified, and I quickened my pace, desperate to escape from this haunted place. But no matter how fast I ran, the feeling of unease followed me, like a shadow haunting my every step. It was as if the spirits of the hotel were reaching out to me, trying to communicate with me from beyond the grave. As I reached the ground floor, I was met with an even more unsettling sight. The furniture in the lobby had been rearranged, as if someone or something had been here in my absence. I felt a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I knew that I had to get out of there. But just as I turned to leave, a chilling whisper filled the air, sending a shiver down my spine. "Get out!" the voice seemed to say, a haunting echo that seemed to come from all directions. Without hesitation, I ran to the front door, my heart pounding in my chest. But as I reached for the handle, the door wouldn't budge. Panic set in as I tried to force it open, but it was as if the door had been sealed shut by some unseen force. "Let me out!" I screamed, pounding on the door with all my strength. But there was no response, no escape from this nightmare. I turned around, my eyes scanning the lobby for another way out, and that's when I saw it. The figure standing at the end of the hallway, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The figure seemed to float towards me, its form shifting and contorting in the dim light. I couldn't move, couldn't tear my eyes away from the terrifying sight before me. As the figure drew closer, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, like a darkness enveloping me. I knew that I was in the presence of something malevolent, something beyond my understanding. In a desperate attempt to escape, I turned and ran down the hallway, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty hotel. But no matter how fast I ran, the figure was right behind me, its presence looming like a shadow. As I reached the end of the hallway, I spotted an old, dusty mirror on the wall. Without thinking, I turned to look at it, and what I saw sent a chill down my spine. The figure that had been chasing me was reflected in the mirror, but it was no longer translucent or ethereal. Instead, it looked like a twisted, monstrous version of myself, its eyes filled with malice and darkness. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing, and the terror that gripped me was beyond anything I had ever experienced. I knew that I had to get out of there, to escape this haunted hotel and whatever malevolent force was tormenting me. With a burst of adrenaline, I ran towards the front door once more, and this time it budged. The door swung open, and I stumbled out into the night, the cold air filling my lungs. I didn't stop running until I was far away from the hotel, my heart still pounding in my chest. I didn't know what had happened in that forsaken place, and I didn't want to know. I vowed never to return to the Hotel Ashcroft, to leave its dark secrets buried in the past where they belonged. But the memory of that terrifying night would haunt me for the rest of my days, a constant reminder that some places are best left abandoned, and that the darkness that lurks within can never truly be escaped.